Mm. Oh, oh, did we lose Mike already?
Yeah, he must have needed to log back in. Maybe he had a bad connection.
Maybe. Oops.
Hi, Darlene. There's everybody.
Afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello, hello. Hmm. There she is. Just waiting for Bob. Oh, everybody's here. Cool, full house.
All right. It's 1 o'clock.
Great. Just before we begin, Mary, can I ask you to remove Read AI notes from the list of participants, please? Thanks.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Welcome everybody. Meeting for today, Friday, February the 20th at 1 p.m. Number one, I shall call the meeting to order. And I have to say about live streaming of the meetings. At the start of the meeting, I will advise that as chair in attendance that the meeting is being live streamed and video recorded. The opinions individuals representing a delegation or presentation are their own. The board is not responsible for delegates, presenters' comments, or any materials they choose to provide. The link to the live stream is posted on the agenda so that the public can view the live proceedings, which also link to the video recording. Whenever possible, the board will advise all delegates, presenters in advance of the meeting that the meeting and the presentation will be live streamed and video recorded and a recording posted for public viewing. So I have to state that at every meeting. So that's 1A. And 1B, attendance motions to excuse, if any, and Mary said everybody's here, so we shall proceed. Number 2, the land acknowledgement. We are on the traditional territory of the Sioux First Nation within the area of Treaty 3. And we're also in the area of Treaty 9 with this board area. And in addition, many of the people and communities we serve are also in Treaty 5 of the Anishinaabe Nation. So that's the land acknowledgement. And number 3, the first item and number 3 is, well, the only item in number 3 is regarding the election of the chair. And the administrator will take that on. So Brian. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. In accordance with sections 36 sub 1 and 2 of the Community Safety and Policing Act, elections for the chair and, if we wish, vice chair are to take place at the first meeting of the detachment board of each year. Of course, we did have a special meeting last month, but this is the first regular meeting, so we decided that it would be appropriate to do the elections at this meeting. And my role is to conduct the elections. The term of office is usually from the beginning of 1 year to the first meeting of the next year. However, for the 2026 term, the term will start after this meeting and end the first meeting of 2027, subject to the municipal election in October of 2026. While the legislation requires that a chair be elected, election of vice chair is optional. Does the board wish to elect a vice chair this year? Oh, sorry, Madam Chair, you're muted.
I'll say why not? We can get them to chair the meeting if the chair is absent.
Yes, yeah, that's a key part of the role. Yeah. Any thoughts?
And we just select out of this group?
Yes, out of the board members. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're looking for staff's recommendation, we would say Sure, it's nice to have a backup just in case the chair is away or unavailable for whatever reason. It is helpful to have a vice chair. So if the board's comfortable with that, we'll proceed accordingly.
I think it's a good idea.
Not hearing any.
Same here.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Okay, great. Everyone's on board. Great. So we will start with the election of chair. Just a reminder that only board members can be nominated, not staff. We're here to assist and support. So I will call 3 times for nominations from the floor. However, just so you understand the process, more than 1 nomination can be made each time. Also, if you are nominating someone who isn't here, which isn't applicable, you would need to have had written confirmation that they are willing to let their name stand. But since everyone's here, that's great. We don't require a seconder for a nomination, and you can nominate yourself. So I will now take nominations from the floor. So for the first time, are there any nominations from the floor for the position of chair?
Hey.
I'd like to nominate Darlene. She does a great job.
And Darlene, are you willing to accept that nomination?
Yeah, I'll accept.
Okay, thank you. And for a second time, are there any nominations from the floor for the position of chair? Okay, and for the third and final time, are there any nominations from the floor for the position of chair? Okay, there being no further nominations for the position of chair, I declare the nominations closed. And since we only have 1 person nominated for the position of chair, that person is acclaimed and no election is required. Congratulations, Darlene.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And so we'll go through the same process again for vice chair. We'll do 3 calls for nominations, and again, a seconder isn't required. You are able to nominate yourself. And so we'll start again. For the first time, are there any nominations for the position of vice chair?
I can nominate myself if you'd like.
Sure. Great, thank you, Kyra. And given that you nominated yourself, I expect that you will accept that nomination.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just like to check. So for the second time, are there any nominations from the floor for the position of vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Bob Rasmussen.
Okay.
And
And Bob? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
sorry, the reason being that it would be nice to see Pickle Lake as part of the chair, vice chair proceedings.
Okay. Bob, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yeah, I'll say.
Okay, thank you. And for the third and final time, are there any nominations from the floor for the position of vice chair? All right. So there being no further nominations, I declare nominations for the position of vice chair closed. Since we have more than 1 person nominated for the position of vice chair, we will have an election. One of the most enjoyable parts of my job at the municipality is the clerk side of my role is this year's such an exciting year because it's municipal election year. These elections are a little more manageable. So the if you wish, the candidates for vice chair, being Kyra and Bob, you're welcome to, if you wish, to make a few remarks, but it's not required. So I will. Kyra, you were nominated first. Did you wish to make any remarks prior to the election?
I do actually like Darlene's point, having Pickle Lake involved, so I
Okay.
won't be offended if Bob does get elected. I actually kind of think that's a good idea.
Great. And Bob, did you have any comments before the election?
I'm just willing to help any way I can, so.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Um, because this is a virtual meeting, and providing that the board is comfortable, we can just do the election by a raise of hands. As I'm looking to Mary to ensure that I'm still following our guidelines within the rules and procedures. Very good. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so we will call for those who would like to vote for Kyra. Please raise your hands. Okay. And those who would like to vote for Bob, please raise your hands. Okay, so a clear outcome there. Thank you very much to everyone who let their names stand. Having these roles is very important, of course, to the efficient operation of the board. So based on the election, I'm pleased to advise that Bob will be our vice chair for the next year. Kyra, thank you very much for putting your name forward, and we will proceed. So this concludes the election of chair and vice chair for the Sioux Lookout OPP Detachment Board. Thank you for your attention and cooperation and participation. And I will now turn the meeting back over to our current and newly elected chair, Darlene. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Kyra, for stepping forward. Okay, number 4, we'll go to the approval of the agenda. So, for a introduction of amendments to the agenda.
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't have any amendments.
Okay. All right. So number 4B, we'll have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, but not amended. Okay. Yeah, so we need a mover. And Bob will move. And seconder. And Kyra will second. And all in favor, show of hands. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 5, declarations of interests.
Through you, Madam Chair, I haven't received any prior to the meeting, but if there are any, folks can do so now.
No, I don't see any either. Okay, number 6, the adoption of the minutes from December 11th and January the 22nd, 2026. 6A, any errors or omissions that were noted? I see no errors or omissions. So, we'll move on to 6B, motion to approve the minutes as presented. We all received them. Kyra? And Bob, yeah, seconding. All in favor? Yeah. Great. Okay. So the minutes have been adopted from December 11th and January the 22nd. Now we'll go to number 7, delegation presentations, and there don't seem to be any. So We'll move to number 8 now. Items for discussion and reports. So 8A OPP report statistics for the fourth quarter 2025 for Sioux and Pickle Lake, Inspector Mike Christ, Detachment Commander. So
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to say congratulations to Darlene and Bob for their roles, and to thank all of the board members for the important roles that you play in being on this board. And I look forward to working with you all throughout 2026. If it's okay with Madam Chair and the rest of the board, I have our new OPP victim specialist here with me, and I would just like to provide her with a few minutes to introduce herself, if that's okay. She has an important role at the detachment. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Paige. Yeah, like Inspector said, I am the victim specialist at a Sioux Lookout. So there's 12 victim specialists across the province. We're deployed out of GHQ. Northwestern Ontario is very lucky. We have 3 victim specialists up here, myself being one of them. So the victim-centered approach team was modeled off the FBI model and developed after, which was developed after 9/11. We have a different definition of what a victim is than the criminal code. So we define a victim as anyone has been negatively impacted by someone else's actions. So this could be witnesses to fatal MVCs, next of kin for sudden deaths. Our role is to engage on an investigative lens and provide those updates to victims and next of kin throughout the investigative process. Once a charge has been laid, we disengage, but we ensure that our victims that we are supporting have been connected to the appropriate community resources. So making sure victim services is engaged and the victim witness assistance program to help with court support. Key pieces to our role. So we provide those, like I said, investigative updates to next of kin and victims throughout the entire investigative process. That really helps on enhancing the investigative excellence by building that trust and identifying the needs of our victims or survivors. Coordinating community supports, like I said, with victim services and VWAP. We do assist with death notifications as well as returning property of someone's deceased loved one in a trauma-informed way. We also review media releases with family members prior to them going out. And this just allows them to feel like we are engaging them in the process, and that, you know, investigations can take time, and we want to ensure that they know they are not being forgotten about. And yeah, so we also take on the victim liaison officer in major case managements, as well as CIB cases as well. And this just really helps to reduce officer workload. That is our major role, to take that communication from the officers or the investigators. If you have a victim who is calling quite frequently, it takes them away from their investigation. So that's really where we come in and we create that support and we build that rapport with the victims or their family members to ensure that they're aware and they're updated on the process, and that their rights are being upheld under the Canadian Victim Bill of Rights Act. That's all I've got. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer, but I will turn it back to Inspector.
Thanks, Paige. Yeah, we're extremely excited to have the role. We had it posted a number of times, and we didn't have any successful applicants, so it's certainly going to enhance our ability to support victims across the cluster. So she's responsible for all of our 5 locations. If there's no questions for Paige, I will begin with the updates to the provincial impaired driving legislation. So I was asked to provide a bit of an overview here. So what has changed is there are no longer, excuse me, there's now longer immediate roadside suspensions if you blow a warn at roadside. So previously, on a first occurrence, it was a 3-day license suspension, and a second occurrence was a 7-day license suspension. And now a first occurrence is a 7-day license suspension, and a second occurrence is a 14-day license suspension. So this suspension happens immediately at roadside before any court process. Another change is earlier mandatory education and treatment. So now at a first occurrence, it requires the completion of a remedial education program, and subsequent occurrences require more intensive treatment programming. So drivers must complete these programs before full driving privileges are restored. And this shifts the focus now toward early intervention and behavior change, and not just punishment, as was the case before. There's also an increased extended look back period. And what this means is the province has expanded the look back period from 5 years to 10 years. So this means prior alcohol and drug related suspensions will count for a full decade when determining escalating penalties. And there's several other updates associated with longer suspensions, ignition interlock requirements, and significant consequences for impaired driving causing bodily harm or death. So to everyone here at the detachment, this sets a clear message. Impaired driving now carries quicker, longer, and more impactful consequences. And some of these are delivered right at roadside, not just months later once the court process is concluded. And these updates are posted on the Province of Ontario's website. And the OPP has also undergone a media campaign to ensure the public is updated through our festive ride and traffic safety campaign messaging to ensure the public is aware of the changes, particularly the longer roadside suspensions. And on the note of festive ride, the detachment's pleased to announce that we conducted 669 ride checks during the festive ride campaign. This placed us first in the entire province. And during that initiative, we laid 11 impaired driving charges. So the officers have been working very hard, being proactive and looking for impaired drivers and looking to keep them off of our streets. So unless there's any questions on that, I will move into the Pickle Lake update because I believe I provided the Sioux update first last time. So I will switch it over to Pickle Lake. So the group of young officers that we have in Pickle Lake, they've been very involved in the community throughout 2025. They completed 138 community service events, and these ranged from attending the Crelancia School Breakfast Program, which they really enjoy doing, to organizing their April OPP Cops and Kids Ice Fishing Derby, to participating in the Santa Claus Parade. They now host Fun with Cops program after school at Crelancia, where they're playing dodgeball, basketball, and volleyball with the kids. And I was actually up there in Pickle Lake a few weeks ago and I was playing basketball with some of the kids and community members, and it was a great time. We have also started our OPP Kids in the Know program at Crelancia School, and we've also started this throughout our clusters. So also at Sioux Mountain School and Sacred Heart School, as well as our grade schools in North Caribou, KI, and Wapakika. So a little bit about the OPP Kids in the Know program. It's a prevention-based safety program teaching kids how to recognize and respond to unsafe situations, including online risks. It offers age-appropriate programming on topics like bullying, cyber safety, and healthy relationships. And it's community-focused. And its real intent is to build positive relationships between youth and the police officers. And this is something we're really happy that we can, or we're in a position to offer this year. So moving on to the fourth quarter report for 2025 for Pickle Lake. So on page 2, the overall billable calls in Pickle Lake are up slightly in 2025 with 627 calls versus 513 in 2024. And The increases are across the majority of billing categories. So I'll get into that on the coming pages. So turning the page to page 3, the Violent Criminal Code billing summary. Our assaults in Pickle Lake are up with 46 in 2025 versus 32 in 2024. And our assault with a weapon and causing bodily harm category is also trending up with 18 in 2025 versus 8 in 2024. And I've spoken about these occurrences at some of our previous 2025 meetings. And in reviewing them, some common themes were that the involved parties were all quite intoxicated from the consumption of alcohol, and they were known to each other, typically drinking with each other at the same location prior to the assault. So I just wanted to clarify these aren't typically incidents where a member of the public who isn't associated with the individual committing the crime is impacted. It's typically members of the community who are together. We're also continuing to connect these victims with services as best we can. As you just learned from our victim specialist, Paige Parker, her role is to connect with these victims and ensure that they are supported as much as possible. And some of the early findings with this program is it really encourages victims to participate in the criminal justice system, because sometimes these cases can be very drawn out. It can literally take years before the matters are heard in court. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen between the police and the victim to ensure that they're engaged and they're getting the updates that they need. So again, we're happy to have her. Moving on to page 4, the property crime billing report. So our break and enters in Pickle Lake were down slightly with 4 in 2025 versus 6 in 2024. And mischiefs in Pickle Lake are trending up in 2025. But as I've also reviewed previously, the majority of these mischiefs that we're seeing in Pickle Lake involve people damaging property of people who are already known to them. So for instance, in one of the cases where someone intentionally punched a hole in someone else's drywall while they were in the residence. So that is a mischief, but it's not, we're not seeing too many of them where random members of the public are being impacted by them. Moving on to page 8, the operational 1 billing category. So unfortunately, and to my dismay, the bear calls were back up in Pickle Lake for 2025 with 27 versus only 5 in 2024. And from speaking with the sergeants up there, I know they're planning on doing some work with the township to message the proper storage of garbage to the community, as the majority of bear calls were bears getting into people's garbages. And we feel like there's some room for improvement there that will probably reduce the calls in 2026. Our assist public calls are down in Pickle Lake from 86 in 2024 to 58 in 2025. As I've said at previous meetings in 2025, our assist publics are generally a catch-all for when members of the public phone the police and the reason doesn't quite fit into another billing category. And we're noticing this trend in Sioux as well, where our assist publics are down. Moving further down that page to domestic disturbances, you'll see they're up from 29 in 2024 to 54 in 2025. And I attribute this increase in part due to the good work of our detachment abuse issues investigator, who started last year. And it's not that we weren't responding to these calls in a proper way, but now we're doing a better job on categorizing them as being domestic in nature. And that's why we're seeing that uptick there. Whereas the call was counted before, but we might not have determined that there was a domestic element to it, if that makes sense. Moving on to page 10, statutes and acts. Mental health threat of suicide are trending up in Pickle Lake with 29 in 2025 versus 20 in 2024. Our CMHA crisis response worker has been doing a good job in connecting with people in crisis. We've also been tabling a number of individuals at the situation table in Sioux Lookout, and we're looking to get them supports whenever possible. Moving on to page 17, the detachment board report clearance rate. So our clearance rates in Pickle Lake continue to be among the highest in the province, with a 92.9% clearance rate for violent crime and a 61.9% clearance rate for property crime. And as I've said before, this is something that we're very proud of. I attribute this in large part to the hard work of the officers in securing evidence, but it's also, I attribute it to our fast response times. We continue to see some of the quickest response times in the province, and that allows officers, to arrive on scene sometimes when the offense is still underway, and they're making quick arrests, and they're able to clear a lot of these calls. Moving on to page 19, which is youth charges. Our youth charges in Pickle Lake were up slightly, from 7 in 2024 to 15 in 2025. But looking further down the line, in 2023, we had 20 youth charges. So it appears that 2024 was a low year. As I mentioned, the officers are really involved with the youth right now in the community. And my hope is that these positive interactions are going to translate into reduced youth charges and youth calls moving forward. Now that we're building those positive relationships. Moving on to page 21, our overdose occurrences. I just wanted to note that in 2025, we didn't have any overdose occurrences recorded in Pickle Lake. And while drugs continue to be an issue in the north, and we do remain diligent on targeting illegal drug traffickers, I do believe that this stat points the focus towards alcohol as our continued drug that contributes to the greatest number of negative outcomes and negative police interactions with the public. With respect to our members being vigilant about drugs entering into the community, we had an excellent traffic stop in Pickle Lake last year where members arrested an individual for driving while suspended. And while doing their investigation, they subsequently located 145 grams of cocaine and subsequently laid a drug trafficking charge there in Pickle Lake. So some good proactive work by the officers. Moving on to page 23, our patrol hours. You'll see that our officer foot patrol hours are up from 2024, where we only had 57 hours, to 2025 with 82.5 hours. So this is something that I've been saying for some time. Our goal is to continuously get better in this area. We want to see the officers out interacting with the public on foot. And our goal for 2026 is to increase these numbers even more. So that is the Pickle Lake update. Unless there's any questions before I get into the Sioux update. I will move on then, and there'll be time at the end. So before I get started with the Sioux update, I'll ask Staff Sergeant Russ Cedino to provide a few highlights on some of the initiatives we've been working on in Sioux lately.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so one thing we've realized that we've lacked in the last little bit here in Sioux Lookout is having a community engagement officer. We get inundated with the requests to attend all these events, and it's very hard to do so. We don't have a dedicated individual for that. So we've reinvested in that position. It's Provincial Constable Graham Desjardins. I'm sure many of you know him or have seen him out and about in the community. And we've expanded his duties within that role, which is involved the situational table, which the inspector touched on briefly. So he sits on that regularly. The library recently held a National Law Enforcement Day, and he attended that. He's begun a Coffee with Cops event at Tim Hortons. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. We've had two, and that's going to continue. He's going to book a third session here in the near future. He's assisting with our recruiting efforts. Recruiting in policing is always at the forefront. We're always looking for good applicants to come over to the OPP or apply to the OPP or consider a career in policing in general. So he attended a career fair at Pelican Falls just a few weeks ago. There's another career fair coming up in Lac Seul First Nation We've booked a booth there. He'll be present there as well, again, to continue the recruiting efforts for that. He's enhanced our social media presence. It's assisted with missing persons investigations and obviously public awareness, community updates, things that are going on with within the community. He heads the OPP Kids in the Know program here in Sioux Lookout and assists the other officers up in Pickle Lake and throughout our cluster in facilitating that program. He's assisted in booking our emergency response team to come up to the schools here. So far, we've only done Sioux Mountain School, where they've been able to attend, meet with staff, and then go over lockdown procedures and the difference between a lockdown and a hold and secure procedure, with more training coming to the other schools throughout the remainder of the school year. That also includes booking some additional, it's called immediate rapid deployment training for our officers, which will be coming up in March. So he's able to help facilitate all these things and keep everybody in the know, which has proven extremely valuable for us. I just wanted to touch, I could give you 1,000 good news stories from 2025. And I just picked one. I'm sure everybody here is well aware that we launched body worn cameras for all the officers. We've had in-car cameras for several years, and just how valuable they are as a policing tool. So back in August of 2025, we actually received a call to a local residence where it was a pretty low priority call. The officers go and, there's just some arguing going on, nothing too serious, and the officers depart. But then a few hours later, they get called back to the same residence to assist our local ambulance. And there's an individual there who has life-threatening injuries. They assist the ambulance, and then unfortunately, that individual later died of his injuries, which resulted in a homicide investigation starting up with our local crime unit under the direction of our criminal investigation branch. And that led to some murder charges for an individual a couple months after the initial call. But why I'm bringing that up is the body-worn camera footage is it's so valuable, because that initial call that was, a very low priority, nothing call, if you will. Obviously, our officers had their body-worn cameras activated. Well, just a few hours later, we go to the second call. Now we know through the body-worn camera footage who was there, who was wearing what damage, if any, was in the residence at that time, and how does that compare to the new call? Damage in the residence, people there, clothing they're wearing. Again, I can't give too much specifics because for the course. But again, the body-worn cameras, we are absolutely loving them. That's all I have for you.
Thanks, Russ. Just keeping with the recruitment theme. So I think everyone knows, but I'll just highlight it again. So Pickle Lake is a 2-year duration. So typically we see recruits go up there. They work extremely hard for 2 years, but then they transfer back to their friends and family, typically in Southern Ontario. And Sioux Lookout is the same, but 4 years. So in order to staff our positions, we're constantly recruiting. We see constant turnover here. And I was recently speaking with a group of over 100 potential recruits, trying to attract some of them up to Sioux Lookout. And I will be flying down to Aurelia to speak with an intake of recruits to also try and convince them to come to Sioux Lookout and Pickle Lake. So we have had some luck lately, but I just want to put it out there. We're always hiring. If you know anyone who's interested, me and Russ would be happy to work with them. And we have a variety of positions available. And then on the note of our youth involvement in Sioux Lookout, I'm actually coaching the Sioux North High School senior boys basketball team, and we're in the finals tonight against Dryden. So it's at 8 p.m. If anyone on the call would like to support or tune in and support, I'm sure they would appreciate it. They're a great group of boys. Moving on to the report. So on page 2, the calls for service billing report summary, we are trending down overall in Sioux Lookout, slightly, with 5,303 billable calls in 2024 versus 4,875 in 2025. And as I go through the report, we'll get into a bit more detail. but where we're seeing some of these decreases. Moving on to page 3, the violent criminal code billing category, our aggravated assaults are up from 2 in 2024 to 6 in 2025. I've reviewed these files and every single one of them was solved, fortunately, and charges were laid in every single case. And similar to some of our violent offenses in Pickle Lake, in these cases, again, the majority of the individuals were known to each other and they were consuming alcohol together in excessive quantities in almost every single one of these instances. So pointing again to the continued issue we're seeing with alcohol in the community. Our assaults are also trending up from 2024. We had 220 versus 263 in 2025. And the majority of these assaults are related to intimate partner violence. And part of this increase, again, would be the focus of our detachment abuse issues investigator in correctly tying these occurrences to domestic violence and domestic issues, whereas before they would have been captured and responded to properly, they just might not have developed that nexus. So that's why we're seeing some of those increases. It's more of a reclassification. I am pleased to report that our sexual assaults for the cluster are continuing to trend down. This is the third consecutive year we're seeing some reduction, with 41 in 2024 and 35 in 2025. And on this page, I also noted that our utter threats calls are down. We had 25 in 2025 versus 42 in 2024. I did do a review of these calls and I couldn't determine specific causes to why they were down, but it's certainly a positive. Moving on to page 4, our property crime. Overall, property crime is down across the municipality. Break and enters are definitely trending down with 25 in 2025 versus 36 in 2024. And as I've mentioned at previous meetings, we continue to see an increase in private home video security systems, which we believe does reduce the risk to property crime, to your property being broken into. Mischiefs are also down with 59 in 2025 versus 80 in 2024. And we also attribute, at least in part, some of this decrease to private video surveillance, as well as the good work that our partners in private security have been doing in their patrols to deter mischief and other property crimes. Moving down that page, shoplifting is up from 2024, where we had 24, to 41 in 2025. And I reviewed all of these occurrences, and they're from stores across Sioux Lookout. There wasn't one that was kind of immune or seeing more shoplifts than others. And the most common items stolen were alcohol, followed by simple food items, items that are very quick to consume. Moving on to page 5, the other criminal code billing category. Our bail violations are up from 202 in 2024 to 220 in 2025. And I've mentioned our offender management and apprehension program, and that we're continuing to focus our efforts on monitoring offenders who are on conditions in the community to ensure they don't reoffend. And I'm proud to report that in 2025, our officers across the cluster conducted 1,020 offender compliance checks. So that's when, say, an offender is released back to the community before their charges are dealt with, and they're on a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. That means an officer is actually going to their residence and checking to ensure they're abiding by that curfew. So that's something we're going to continue to focus on, obviously, in 2026. We feel it's very effective in ensuring offenders are abiding by the strict conditions they're released on. Moving on to page 8, the operational 1 billing category. So for Sioux Lookout, this is where we saw the most significant reduction in calls for service. We were down 404 calls here from 2024 to 2025, or that's about a 15% reduction. And one of the main areas, as I mentioned with Pickle Lake, was our assist public calls. Again, this is a catch-all category when community members typically phone for a police officer, and the reason for the call doesn't fit neatly into one of the other categories. So a common example that we see is a patient will be being treated at the hospital and they will leave before their treatment plan is complete, and the hospital will call an officer and ask them to bring the patient back to the hospital. So that doesn't fit into another category. So with the assist public, we had 186 fewer calls from 2024 to 2025. And again, I would attribute, at least in part, some of this reduction to the good work being conducted by our partners in private security. Russ regularly meets with the hospital and hostel security staff. And from these meetings, we learn that they divert a large number of calls from our officers and just deal with them in-house. And a lot of assist public type calls are calls that security guards can deal with typically by themselves. So you'll also see further down the page that our insecure condition calls are down from 64 in 2024 to only 14 in 2025. So that's a 128% reduction. And this is something that we worked hard on throughout 2025 to meet with a number of our local businesses and organizations and work with them to get their false alarms down at their locations. And clearly it was effective. So I appreciate those businesses and organizations working with us and getting those calls down, because officers, quite frankly, they have more important things to be doing than responding to false alarms. Moving down to page, or flipping over to page 10, our statutes and acts billing category. So this is one of the areas where we saw an increase in calls, particularly Mental Health Act threat of suicide calls, where we went from 90 in 2024 to 130 in 2025. We continue to have our partnership with Canadian Mental Health Association by having an in-house mobile crisis response worker. And this position is actually coming up. It's going to be posted either, if it's not posted already, it's going to be posted next week is my understanding. So that's a really important position for us to fill here. And again, they work with our community engagement officer, they work with the situation table, and they work to get people who really are in crisis connected and in a better spot so that the police officers are not responding to calls involving them. Moving over to page 11, our traffic billing category. So our property damage motor vehicle collisions were actually up this year from 48 in 2024 to 64 in 2025. And I just wanted to encourage the motoring public to remain vigilant and drive according to road and weather conditions. A lot of the motor vehicle collisions that we see, they can be reduced through more attentive driving and through adhering to the posted speed limits. On page 17, where our detachment board report starts, looking at clearance rates, we're continuing to see high clearance rates for Sioux Lookout as well, with a 61.4% property crime clearance rate and an 85.4% violence crime clearance rate. And again, these are amongst the highest in our region and really the highest in the province. Moving on to page 19, that's our youth crime. So our youth crime charges are down from 96 in 2024 to 29 in 2025. I couldn't immediately determine why such a dramatic reduction. I did look into the occurrences and noted that several of our young people who did receive a number of charges are now no longer in the community of Sioux Lookout. And some of them have also become adults, so that could be part of it. But it's certainly something we're going to continue to monitor because that is quite the reduction. On page 20, our overdose occurrences, we had 2 fatal overdoses in 2024 and 1 in 2025. And our non-fatal overdoses are also down in 2025 with 14 versus 20 in 2024. And on page 22, our daily activity reporting, our foot patrol in Sioux Lookout Lake Pickle Lake is up for 2025 with 171 hours versus 140 hours in 2024. And same as with Pickle Lake, we're gonna look to increase that even further in 2026. And Russ and I will be part of that as well. So you will probably see us doing some rounds downtown as well. And that is it for my Q4 report for Sioux Lookout. Unless there's any questions about either report, I can take them now. If not, that's it. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you very much for presenting the reports. I have no questions. Okay, so now we go on to 8B, a staff report regarding consideration of attendance at the OAPSB Spring Conference, June 1st and 2nd in Niagara Falls. Who would Brian?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the annual conference of the Association of Police Service Boards and their annual general meeting. We did participate last year. Our chair attended. And so essentially the report is to provide a bit of information about it. We included the program and as well as some conference costing options, depending on where people are flying from and who's attending. There's a variety of options in there. So that to sort of give an idea of the cost based on the various options. So the cost could range between about $3,900 and $5,000, depending on which option is chosen. And you know, it's dependent on transportation specifics and, you know, all of that type of thing. So so essentially we're just seeking interest from members of the board as to whether or not they may wish to attend the conference this year, and then to authorize their attendance accordingly. We have, and Mary, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we have budgeted for one person from the board to attend in the budget. However, if there is interest from more than one, we could look at reallocating funds from one budget line to the travel and training line if more than one individual wishes to attend. So having said all that, is there any interest from any of the board members in attending the conference this year?
I went last year, and I'm not interested in going this year. So if anybody else wants to go, that's fine. Yeah.
I'm thinking if Bob doesn't want to go since he's vice chair, and I'm the newer one, I'd like to go, but I'm willing to.
No, I would. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. My wife and I are celebrating our 40th anniversary that the first 2 weeks of June. So Niagara Falls is out. So So, yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Any John, do you have any interest in attending this year?
No, I'm not able to go.
Okay, very good. So having said that, I think we will be sending one member, and that will be Kyra. And so Kyra staff will be in touch to work out all the logistics and travel arrangements and all that kind of stuff in the coming weeks. And so for the purpose then of the resolution, it would read that the Sioux OPP Detachment Board authorizes Kyra Marshall to attend the Sioux Police Association. Sorry. Wow, I really messed that one up. To attend the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards 2026 Spring Conference and Annual General Meeting, June 1st and 2nd, 2026 in Niagara Falls, Ontario, with necessary expenses allowed in accordance with the board's rules and procedures. Madam Chair, if we could have a mover and seconder.
I'll move.
Okay.
Seconder.
No second.
Second. Yeah. And all in favor? Just show of hands. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so we're finished with number 8. Now we're going to item 9, correspondence. And 9A, there's an email from the Grenville OPP Detachment Board regarding support for enhanced school bus safety and implementation of stop arm camera systems. So there's a letter to Doug Ford and a sample letter to our detachment board and comments from Inspector Craig. So, okay.
Sorry, Madam Chair, could you repeat that?
Am I off? Oh. Okay, so there's an email from Granville OPP Detachment Board, and it's regarding the support for the enhanced school bus safety and implementation of the stop arm camera system. And there's a letter to Doug Ford and a sample letter to our detachment board and comments from Inspector Kreis. So that would be the letter. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So I wasn't just sure what you wanted me to comment on, but yeah, like absolutely. Like myself and the entire detachment, we really support that initiative. We feel it will provide a lot of good evidence, and we do receive those calls and we take them seriously. So we want to do everything we can to investigate properly and lay charges where warranted. So absolutely, we support that.
Yeah. Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, if that's the case, I have a resolution prepared for the board, for the board's consideration that the Sioux OPP Detachment Board authorizes and directs staff to send a letter to Premier Ford and Minister Sakaria respecting the school bus safety and stop arm camera systems.
Okay, so we need a mover for that one.
I can move.
Kyra or John first and then Kyra second. Okay. All right. Now moving on to 9B, an email from
Sorry, Madam Chair, could we just ask that we do the vote for all in favor?
Yeah, all in favor.
Thank you.
Always had it all. Okay, so 9B, the email from the Ontario Association of Police Services Board regarding the New Year update on legislative charges and discussion groups. So,
Through Madam Chair, Inspector Kreitz spoke to that during his update when he spoke about the new mandatory suspension timelines that have increased from the past. So I think unless there's any questions from the board for the inspector, I think we have covered this one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 9B then, the Inspector General of Policing and memo number 9, province-wide inspection on police integrity and anti-corruption practices. So we have the memorandum. We were sent the memorandum regarding that. So
To you, Madam Chair, yes. So we essentially just wanted to circulate that for the board's information. We have touched base, Madam Chair, regarding if there are any media inquiries regarding this matter, and we can address them if anything comes forward to us. Given that the focus, I understand it's a province-wide initiative that the the Inspector General of Policing has initiated. But of course, this is arising from what we've heard in the news over the last couple of weeks about the City of Toronto police force. So certainly no direct relationship or connection to our OPP detachment board or our OPP detachment and the cluster it represents. So more for your information than anything at this point.
yeah, thank you. All right. Now, we are at number 10, the next meeting date. It says Thursday, May 28th, 2 p.m. So is that okay with everybody? Yes, yeah, okay. So that'll be the next time we meet. And I'm not sure, but I had something on my calendar. My calendar said something about February 26th, is it 26th?
To you, Madam Chair, yes, that would have been the original date for this month's meeting, but we ended up changing it to today to accommodate a few members' schedules.
I was wondering what that was about. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no need to attend again on the 26th. We're good.
Okay, it just showed up on the thing. Okay, well, I guess we'll adjourn this meeting then, unless anybody has anything to add anywhere. No, nothing. Okay, all right. So we'll see you then on the May 28th. And thank you for electing me again, and I'll do my best. Yeah, be good.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay.
Hey, thanks. Bye.